And hello everyone, Greg Scott Bailey here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you for stopping by my 7 Days to Dive video here, where we are going to test heat mapping in Alpha 19.3 B6. So I'm loaded into a Navigaine world. I'm over by the farm. Um, we are actually going to make sure... Okay, no zombies are currently loaded in, because yeah, we are going to test the heat mapping, so turn on debug menu. I'm going to go and turn on craft menu as well. I do have some items that I'm going to be initially testing on. Let's get some wood that we'll put in some of the forges and campfires, chemistry station when necessary. Oh, chicken. But yeah, once debug menu is on, press F8 once. That'll get your frames per second. Press F8 a second time. So in your solo game, or if you're an administrator on your server, you should be able to watch your heat chunk, heat mapping heat chunk. Not sure. By the time this video goes up, I'll probably think about the title. Most people say heat mapping. Heat chunk is the chunk that we are in. And what's cool is if you look at it, it actually I think gives is that some of the coordinates. Oh no, it's the specific chunk. It's the 41st by 55th chunk in the game. So I'm guessing within this area. But we'll go ahead and we'll show also how you could check which chunk you're in for doing the heat mapping. So just right off the back, I just want to go ahead and just test torches. Place one torch. See how it went to 0.25% just by the placement. So this way we can kind of see, can you still do multiple torches to get your heat mapping up even faster? A lot of people like to build a base and get torches and light it up, make sure you've got plenty of light. But sometimes that can be a bad thing to do because that can get your heat mapping up. So the placement does not raise it right away. So that's interesting right there. What are we up to? Was that 3, 6, 9? And you can see it's still staying at 0.25. Interesting. Okay, as you can see, I went ahead and laid down a whole bunch more. It is up to 2.5%. So now at this point, I think it's doing a gradual climb. So what this tells me, and by all means in the comments below, folks can change. See, it just went to 9.75. Is that it's now on a timer. Oh, wait. 0. Okay, so see how it went from 0, or from 9.75 to 0? We are actually at the edge of a chunk right here. So we'll have to keep that in mind. Let's pick that one up there. What I did is I made these fences so that I can actually mark where the chunk line is. Let's go ahead and check and see for how far this way it goes. Oh, we got another zombie there. Knowing that the screamer's not going to spawn in right now, I don't want any of the other zombies that are loading in to interfere. So as you can see, this chunk actually goes quite a ways. No, still. Now it's up to 16. So it's definitely on a timer. But that timer is when it cycles to the next check of the of your heat mapping. It then says, well, okay, now you've got even more heat, so it's going to increase the amount. So it went from 9 to 16. So just as a size comparison here, this is how big a chunk in the game is. I talk about this on Dishong Tower and everything, that when you're in the tower, sometimes you're in the same chunk at all times, and loot doesn't respawn properly. So it's quite a distance, though. I mean, if you look at it, you could have a couple buddies, all your bases could be like in one big area, and not realize that all your forges could contribute to that heat mapping and the calling of the screamer. So let's go ahead and see how long it takes to get a screamer. All right, and here we are coming up on 8 o'clock. It should be noted too. I'm doing 120-minute days on this game, so technically it was 2 game hours. But it finally, what 27, 28 torches here, got us up to what 58.75%. 235 events. That's something I'm still learning. So if you guys know what the events part means, feel free to post in the comments below. Idea here is if it's something I don't know, it's definitely something I'd love to have us as a community share what exactly that means. All right. So as you can see, I mean, it took this long for this many torches, but if you're playing a regular game and you're working on your base and you've got all this heat going on, you can see that within a couple game hours, you're probably going to spawn a screamer that quickly. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now, we don't really need to fight a screamer right now. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up all the torches, and we're going to see if we can reset to 0. If it lets me. There we go. But yeah, we're gonna pick up all the torches, and we're gonna see how long it takes to level out. Because if that's the other thing, if you realize, oh, I'm doing too much heat, I might call in a screamer. You start picking everything up. Will it in fact calm down the heat mapping? You know, so we'll take all of them out. Chances are in your base you might take down all but 1 or 2 or something. Okay, so all the torches are now gone. Yeah, right. And so we went ahead and waited another game hour on a 120-minute day setting. And the heat chunk actually has not gone down at all. So that's interesting. I always thought that it would calm down a little bit. So let's go ahead and let's test a couple other things. Let's do a candle. So place 1 candle. I don't see anything, any change. Let's go ahead and give it a moment, see if it changes. Okay, so almost 10 game minutes later, 65.88 now. So it raises it very little when you use candles, which is I think what I always wanted before, as I wanted to make sure that candles weren't causing the same kind of heat mapping as torches. I mean, it seems like it shouldn't be that big of a difference. Let's make sure we're not. I guess the chicken doesn't count when you do a kill all command. So I'm just curious if where the chunk ends over here. There we go. Okay. Good enough. It's not exact science, but yeah, we're up to 66.3. There's the next one. Let's just do this right here. Actually, yeah. That right there. For science. Okay. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candles out now. I guess whatever 44 minus 50 is. But yeah, as you can see, the candles do at least raise it up as well, but not as much as the torches. We could do a full amount like before. Let's do, what do we have before? 28. It's actually taking forever to, there we go. Gotta find the actual block placement to put it in. Okay. So now, say you have a house and you're strictly lighting up every aspect of the house with candles, you you probably broke into the farmhouse here or somewhere else and were able to get candles while looting your first day. Um, Maybe you make your own candles, whatnot. The recipe's not that hard. Oh, candle table. That's funny. It's plant fibers and animal fat. It's probably a good chance that you'll run into a an animal, a wolf, or something early on. Will you have this many candles on day one? Probably not. But it's at least food for thought. So now we're up to 70. So again, it's just to kind of show what one might do, what a bunch of them might do. So let's go ahead and pick these up. And in preparation for when we do get a screamer, let me get the insta-kill gun ready for science. Okay, so we took away all the heat right now, all the heat sources, and we're at 70.5%. Now, let's see, burn barrels. I think burn barrels were a topic of discussion between me and several others this past weekend on whether or not burn barrels actually emit heat mapping, because they actually won't emit heat when you're up next to them, right? Whereas I think a campfire will. Where are we at? 70.75. Okay, so now it's moved up to 71%. So burn barrels do emit heat mapping. Let's now put a whole bunch in. So the distinction there is the heat mapping that causes screamers versus heat that can hurt you. Like, you step on a campfire, the campfire will burn you. However, the burn barrels, I don't believe. Yeah, burn barrels will not burn you. So interesting kind of difference there. Again, it was another discussion that me and two or three others were having over the past weekend about both heat mapping and heat sources for characters. So yeah, we're up to 77% now. Okay, and so it has moved it up to 81%. Actually, the font is kind of blending in there. So yeah, 77 to 81%. So that's another 4% increase there. It's in the red, so it's warning you that we're getting close to a spawn. Okay, so an interesting scenario. It dropped down to 80. So it went up to 81, dropped down to 80. So this is the first drop that we've seen, and yet these 25 barrels are still here. Not sure what would make it do that, to be honest. Rabbit, rabbit, rabbit. Interesting. I got 1, 2, 3, 4 rabbits, and then myself. Okay, so it's doing bizarre things here. We saw it go up to 86, and now it's down to 79. So we're seeing some fluctuating here. I'm not exactly sure why it would be fluctuating. We're still in the same chunk. Only thing we got around us is rabbits, apparently. Oh, there's one right there. But yeah, so it's just kind of an interesting situation now. And again, this is 25 barrels. One would think that that's an extreme amount of heat, but it doesn't seem to be. So let's go ahead and pick these up now. And again, we're not so much wanting to actually spawn a screamer, but we're wanting to see the difference between a lot of things in this example. So let me go ahead and do the campfire and get those ready, and we'll start testing campfires. Okay, so we got 4 campfires set. Let's go ahead and turn it on. We're at 77.25%. With 10 minutes worth of fuel in there, should be reasonable enough for a testing period. All right, so right away, we're already up to, it went to 92, dropped to 85. So there's an interesting little like change in the heat mapping number. I'm trying to look at a good spot to leave it so it's visible. Part of me kind of wishes that there wasn't a gray background, dark gray, that it would just be strictly black, that whole label. I feel like the whole point of turning on something like this is not to have a in-game number source for part of the game mechanic, you know. If you're doing this, you're actually wanting to legitimately read it, look at it, do things. But that's me. Okay, trying to babble, but you know, get the time to pass. Maybe we could use this sign. 85.25%. And now it's dropped down again to 78. So again, it's this interesting scenario of we have active heat going, and yet it drops. You know, will it shoot back up to the same number? Will it go up higher the next time it shoots up? It seems to want to do it immediately after it changes too. And now down again. It just dropped 7%. That is absolutely bizarre to me. What's the in-game temperature? Feels like 70. So in-game temperature feels like 70 degrees. So I was kind of wondering, you know, is there a feel like there, like, is there something about that changes maybe? And now it's down to 64%. So for some reason, it's going down. These campfires are not creating heat source anymore, or heat mapping at least. I mean, if we stand on it, you know, we'll get hurt. But you don't light on fire like a Molotov, though. And it's down again. So, something about campfires apparently is not creating any more heat mapping. However, just taking away other heat sources before didn't drop the number. So it's kind of a bizarre scenario here where we're seeing that kind of a effect, a change. So let's go ahead and try forges. Okay, so now we got 10 minutes worth of wood ready in all the forges. We're at 50.25 currently for the heat chunk heat. And now it's shot up to 74.25. Okay, so we've been sitting here just a little while now, and it's still sitting at 74.25%. You can see down in the lower left icon that the campfire symbol is there, so our character's even getting warm from this, from these forges. But so far, the heat mapping has not moved up any further. Okay, so I tried to wait even just a little bit longer now, and still nothing. No movement since 74.25. Something occurred to me while we were waiting, though, is I'm wondering if there's a difference when you're smelting something. So let's see if we can't put um, put that as part of the test here. Yeah, running forges is one thing, but if you're running forges empty and it's just burning versus putting something in it. So let's see. Okay, so we did finally get another bump up in heat. Oh, it went to 86 with 92, 98. Interesting. So, you know, it makes you wonder, like, what exactly... Yeah, we got a rabbit, a chicken, and myself. What exactly finally made it roll over? What's the game detecting differently? What's it doing differently, you know? Yeah, it kicks over, or if it kicks over to 100, we'll turn off the forges, and we'll deal with the screamer. Yeah, it just dropped a percent, not to 97. It just, to me, does not make sense why it's doing that. But that's, again, I don't know the back end programming, the reasoning behind why things work the way they work. But from my assumption, it feels like, well, it should only go up as you're constantly doing the heat. I've always thought, and I've always been told that that's the concern. You know, you keep running your forges all the time. The concern is that you're going to generate enough heat to call a screamer in. We've been running these forges now since, yeah, we got 2 minutes left, so it's almost 8 real life minutes. You know, what was that? Almost halfway there, we put iron in there to see if that made a difference. Feels like it did, but now it's down to 96, so it's dropping again, slowly. Okay, so now it's down to 93%, and forges are about ready to be done smelting, or done with the wood source that I put in there. So after 10 minutes, it shot up after I put some iron in there. Whether or not that actually contributed or not to the heat mapping rising, I don't know for 100% sure. But it's still wanting to drop down in percentage. So that's just a really interesting scenario. All right, there they go. And boom. Okay. So now let's add a chem station, right? Let's put 10 minutes worth of wood in there. Let's kick these on for another 10 minutes. Okay, everything's got wood in it. Let's kick these on. We're currently at 93.25%. And it's up to 98. Yeah, there we go. Again, trying to find a good object behind it to put the heat mapping there on the left there. Just so everybody could see it. I may do a visual change. Oh, there we go. So that kicked it over. And there she is. So there you go. I mean, now you get to actually see the screamer come in, right? And after all of that effort, we got a screamer. Seems like a little more effort than usually what happens in a game to us. Okay, so we're up to 18.32%. I don't know if that's from me shooting the kill gun I got. kick on the chemistry station by itself, and let's see what it does. Okay, so after a little bit of time watching here, we've got no movement that I could see on the chemistry station. Let's see if we can't. Was that shale, oil shale, gas can schematic? Oh, we didn't need 5 of them. There. Alright. So start smelting some gas. So we finally saw it click from 4 events to 5 events, and it shot up to 23.32%. And it's just it's kind of interesting now. It's like, what and how long does something take to just me and a rabbit? It's like good bunny karma. That's what's going on. But we don't need good bunny karma. We need we need for the game to actually do stuff. You know, we're still operating within the same chunk. All right, let's give it just a little bit longer. We'll go until this burns out. And there we go. So now it's at 4 events and 23%. It's it didn't really do much. I made 4,000 gas with it. You know, so it's a really interesting scenario how that hasn't made much of a difference either, just on its own. Now, I think the last test we'll do for this video is weapons. Now, if you notice, if you've gone through a tier 3 or higher job for a trader, you've been fighting zombies, you know, tier 3, tier 4, you know, you've just been shooting a lot during the whole fight inside the house, the POI, the building, whatever. And all of a sudden you hear outside, you hear a screamer smacking on the walls, doing the little whine or whatever she does before she screams. You know, so I was telling people, you know, don't forget, you know, your gun can cause heat mapping too. So let's see if I was being accurate about that. Look at that, 6 events, 7 events, 8. Every shot, almost a percentage. So every 2 shots is a percentage. Interesting, huh? Yeah, so there's, again, another food for thought. Alright, so admin gun does, the kill gun, does cause heat mapping. The block destruction, the super digger does not. Yep, so there you go. Just kind of reminds you that, you know, while you're shooting your guns, you know, that can make a difference too. You gotta be careful. Let's see real quick if it's oops, 9 mil. Let's see if it makes a difference. So it's what, about 40%, 35, 40% sometimes, or more. Interesting. All right, so you know, between pistol and the M60, but they both seem to be going up roughly around the same amount of heat mapping per bullet shot. So I mean, after a couple hundred shots fighting zombies, if you're in the same building, and if that building is within the same distance chunk here, there's a good chance that you're going to be running that heat mapping up. As easy as. Alright, so that's going to be it for my heat mapping test on this video. Don't forget to post down below if there's some information that I missed. I would love to hear it. Love to start a dialogue on the whole heat mapping situation in the game as far as Alpha 19 goes. And if there's any other tests, any other things you would like to see me do, I'd be happy to get those suggestions. Either post in the comments below or email me at thegsb5k@gmail.com. Thank you, everybody, for stopping on by my channel. And as always, we'll see you on the next adventure. Bye-bye.